everyone, on what turned out to be a really wonderful day. We were afraid that we were going to get rained on, but it's perfect. I'm Esther Baker. I'm Executive Director of the Iowa Alliance iBank, and I'd like to welcome all of you to our celebration of Renewal. I want to thank everyone, the donor families, the transplant recipients, the hospital and university staff, Iowa Alliance, special guests, and friends for attending our annual event here in the Iowa Alliance Donor Memorial and Healing Garden. Thanks to the support of Iowa Alliance, this tranquil space was constructed and dedicated in 2005, inspired by the many stories of courageous donors and their families, and serves as a respite for thousands of individuals who visit here each year. We came together today to to honor and celebrate the priceless gifts given through donation. These donors and their families remain the focus of and the inspiration for everything that we do at Iowa Alliance iBank. The generosity of their loved ones who donated eyes, organs, tissues, has provided the gifts of sight, life, mobility, and healing to countless recipients. In 2021, 880 Iowa donors provided corneal tissues for 614 grateful cornea transplant recipients. Additional gifted corneas and eyes were used for vital research and education to advance knowledge of blinding eye diseases and transplantation techniques. Since 1955, Iowa Alliance iBank has served Iowa through our mission of restoring and preserving sight across the state, as well as the nation and around the world. I want to recognize the work of all those who help us fulfill this life-changing mission, including Iowa Donor Network. In 2021, despite the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, a record number of lives were transformed through organ and tissue donation in Iowa. 128 Iowa organ donors generously gave 365 organs for transplant, and thousands more were healed by the gifts of 984 tissue donors in Iowa. Donation and transplantation would not be possible without collaboration and partnerships with so many others. It's my honor to recognize our cornea transplant surgeons across Iowa, especially our own doctors Mark Reiner, Jennifer Ling, and Christopher Salas at University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics. Supportive clinical staff, the UIHC Department of Ophthalmology and Visual Sciences, Lions Clubs of Iowa, the Donor Network, Iowa Donor Network, and UIHC Organ Transplant Center. Most importantly, I want to thank my amazing colleagues at Iowa Alliance iBank, the talented and dedicated staff members, a number of whom are here today. It's now my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Mark Reiner, who's at the heart of the Iowa Alliance iBank. He serves as the iBank's medical director, as a corneal transplant surgeon here at UIHC, and also has many other responsibilities and accolades evident in his full list of credentials. Since coming to Iowa in 2012, Dr. Mark Reiner has pursued his interest in iBanking, corneal transplantation, and research. Dr. Reiner is committed to improving the lives of patients with diseases of the cornea and currently runs a research program at Iowa Alliance iBank focusing on corneal endothelial cell metabolic function and corneal transplant outcomes. Dr. Reiner strives to do everything in his power to be the best possible steward of the gift of cornea donation. Dr. Reiner.
Thank you very much, Esther, for a very warm welcome. And good afternoon, and welcome to everyone here. Thank you so much for gathering on this wonderful afternoon indeed. On behalf of the entire University of Iowa healthcare family, on behalf of the Department of Ophthalmology and Visual Sciences, my partners on Team Cornea, Dr. Salas, Dr. Ling, and all of the staff that helped me do what I do to be in front of you here today, we all want to welcome you and thank you. I'm pleased for this opportunity to celebrate and honor all sorts of the best parts of humanity that bring us all together here. For the altruism and the generosity of our donor families, the courage, the triumph of the recipients for these life-changing gifts that we are able to receive as recipients, dedicated stewardship of the Lions Clubs throughout the state, unparalleled clinical expertise and compassionate care from all of the staff and the faculty here at the University of Iowa Department of Visual Sciences, and our transplant programs in particular across the House of Medicine here. We're grateful for the nationally, really internationally recognized Iowa Alliance Eye Bank, a crown jewel in what we do for transplant services and donation. We're also appreciative of the efforts of the Iowa Donor Network for advancing our organ and tissue transplant programs and maintaining Iowa's donor registry, which boasts nearly 1.6 million registered donors. And really, it brings me to the most important thank you of all, the donor families among us here today. You have our most sincere appreciation and respect. I hope that you find solace knowing that donation made such a meaningful difference in the lives of the recipients. And as we enjoy the garden here today, the inspirational messages that we're going to hear, I want us all to celebrate all of the contributions of everyone who helped make sight, vision, life, healing, and mobility possible. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Are we okay? Okay. I too would like to thank you all for joining us today. My name is Deb Schuett, and as Family Services for the Iowa Alliance Eye Bank, Family Services Coordinator, for the Eye Bank, I am privileged to honor the memory of and pay tribute to our donors, your loved ones, who have generously given their final gifts of sight and life to others at the end of their earthly journey, or given the gift of answers through research and teaching. I am also honored to educate, encourage, and celebrate the thankful recipients of these altruistic, unselfish, life-changing gifts. My sincere hope is that donation becomes the bridge of comfort, healing, and hope between one family's grief and another family's gratitude, turning tragedy into renewed life. Our honor roll will be divided into 3 readings today and read in the order printed on the insert in your program. When you hear your loved one's name, you are welcome to stand. With reverence and gratitude, I am honored to share the following names: Keith Allgreen, Murray Anderson, Arlene Ball, Zachary Bailey, Mike Bartlett, Bryce Brecht, Joshua Brennan, Cameron Lee Broderick, David S. Carlson, Roger Merle Carnes, Derek Allen Cooksey, Terry Kraft, Richard L. Cram, Bonnie B. Davis, Judy Dillenberg, David L. Dooley, Joseph Albin Drehos, Donald G. Jardina, John Charles Eidman, James Jin Erb, Cindy Ewing, Cindy Ewing, Stephen Frederick, Justin Gaunt, Mary Lucille Gillette, Robert K. Goodwin, Alex Graft, Jerry and Sherry Graham, Donald Gray, Stacy Ella Green, Bob Leon Greiman. Thank you.
Henry Hank Wellnitz and his wife Lorene join us today from Cedar Falls, Iowa. Henry's the former Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Omega Cabinets in Waterloo, and a former church building consultant for the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Over the span of the last 30 plus years, Henry has been a dedicated volunteer with Habitat for Humanity and helped build more than 100 houses for families so they can have a place to call home. Henry and Lorene will celebrate 50 years of marriage later this year with their 3 children and their spouses and 8 grandchildren. This afternoon, Henry will share his unique journey to restored sight through multiple corneal transplants he received throughout his adult life. Please welcome Hank.
Good afternoon. When Deb called and asked if I would do this, I didn't answer right away. I needed to think about it a little bit. And as I thought about it, and as I've tried to put together my story to share with you this afternoon, it's just been an amazing and humbling experience. To think back over the past 40 years of coming to this place because of donor families like you, I've led a very different life than I would normally have led. When I had my first corneal transplant in 1981, I probably would have been able to memorize this speech, but that ship has sailed a long time ago. So I may look down and read a little bit, because I worked hard in these words I want to share with you. So travel back with me to 1981 and my first corneal transplant. I had been on the waiting list for over a year and a half when I got a call from University of Iowa Hospital saying, come down, be here in the morning. We have a cornea for you. I knew then that things were about to change, and I was more than a little scared. Even though it's been 40 years ago, over 40 years actually, I really remember that day quite clearly. I remember getting ready for the operation. I remember wheeling my little IV stand in one hand down to the operating room and trying to keep the back of my gown closed with the other hand. I remember how nice everyone was. I remember how absolutely cold it was in that operating room. I was shocked by how many people were in there. And then I thought again, who designed this gown that I have on? After they administered the nerve block, as I lay there on the operating table, my world went dark gray. And I couldn't really see anything but a very dim light. And then something happened that I will never forget. As soon as the donor cornea was placed on my eye, I could see more light coming through my eye. And I knew at that point things had changed forever. Lying there after the operation, with my head essentially surrounded by sandbags, I tried to comprehend what had happened. I wouldn't know the final results of the operation for many months, but what I already knew was that someone had made an incredible sacrifice, an incredible gift. I knew right then that I would see the world differently, and I would see the world through someone else's eyes. After we left the hospital, Lorene decided that we would go back to Eldridge, Iowa, her hometown, and I would recuperate there for a week. It was good to do that because her folks were there and they could help take care of our 2 kids and me. And they had a very dark basement bedroom. And just having had eye surgery, that was a perfect place to be because you really like the dark when you've had eye surgery. So I had a lot of time to rest and think and pray and wonder. All I knew about my donor was that he was a 7-year-old boy. And I could not imagine the sadness and the grief and the despair that that family was going through. It again occurred to me that I would see the world differently, see the world through somebody else's eyes. I first heard about keratoconus, the condition that led to my needing a transplant, when I was 20 years old attending Wartburg College in Waverly, Iowa. I had broken my glasses and needed a new pair, and I had to go to a local optometrist. And he was the first one that noticed that something wasn't quite right with my cornea. And he says, I think you have keratoconus, which is characterized by the thinning and protrusion of the central area of the cornea. And he suggested that I go to the eye clinic in Iowa City. He said, don't worry, they got doctors down there that specialize. You'll be well taken care of. And as my vision got worse over the following years, I decided to make an appointment. And that began an amazing 40-year journey with the Iowa Lions Eye Bank, University of Iowa Hospitals, and the eye clinic. First, Dr. Kratchmer, then Dr. Mathers, Dr. Goings, and now Dr. Reiner, and their assistants have been the champions of my vision quest. And I must say thank you to all of them from the bottom of my heart. In March of 2021, I received my 4th corneal transplant. Yes, 4 donor families over 4 decades have decided that their loved ones, each one my personal hero, would be a blessing to someone they didn't know and would probably never meet. I have seen the world through their gifts. I have seen the birth of my children, the birth of my grandchildren. I have seen the world in a way I might never have seen it. I have been able to make a living because of those gifts with my hands. Working with wood, building cabinets and furniture and homes. And you really can't do that if you can't see well. In a letter I wrote to my donor family following my most recent transplant, I told them, it is so hard to put into words how grateful I am. Your gift will allow me to see the world clearly again. A world with so many challenges is one that needs the kinds of acts of love that you have demonstrated and provided. Well, things have changed in terms of medical procedure and care. One thing has not changed, and that is the love, sacrifice, and dedication of donor families, such as those gathered here today. Max Lucado once wrote, "Gratitude lifts our eyes off the things we lack so that we might see the blessings we have." Back in 2005, I wrote again to the eye bank and said, it's hard to summarize the gift of clear vision and clear sight. It is so many things. Seeing God's creation, the sunrises and the sunsets, my son making an interception at a Friday night football game, my daughter making an amazing catch in center field during a Big Ten softball game, my youngest daughter flying across the stage as Wendy in Peter Pan. And one added bonus, when Lorene and I golf, we can find her ball. Thank you to the donors and the families for so many big and small ways that you have changed and impacted my life. I feel like I have been blessed beyond my comprehension and have tried over the years to be a blessing to others. That is a journey I hope to continue, and a journey I can see my way through. As we close this portion of the club program, I would just like to take a moment and ask you to look at those who have gathered here together. Just take a quick look around at someone. Someone once said, if you want to make a difference, just look around you. Someone probably needs your help. If you're here today and have not yet made a decision to become an organ, coronary, or tissue donor, I would respectfully ask that you would consider it, and then do it. Look around. Someone might just need your help. I would like to leave you with a short poem I found from way back in 1898 when the Reverend Henry Burton. The reason I like it so very much is because it really says how I feel about the donor families. Have you had a kindness shown? Pass it on. It was not given for you alone. Pass it on. Let it travel down the years. Let it wipe on others' tears. Pass it on. Be a star in someone's sky. They may live who else might die. Pass it on. Let it travel down the years. Let it wipe another's tears. Pass it on. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Hank. Janine Fleece and her husband John reside in Norwalk, Iowa. Janine is currently a Senior Vice President Operations Director for Commercial Banking at Wells Fargo. Away from work, she enjoys reading and spending time with John, their family members. She's also a passionate volunteer for Iowa Donor Network, sharing her personal connection to organ, eye, and tissue donation through the legacy of her daughter Amanda, inspiring others to give the gifts of life, sight, and hope. Please join me in welcoming Janine.
Thank you. It's truly an honor to be here today. I'm glad the weather held out. I was feeling a little nervous about that when Deb and I have been talking this week, but this is just such a peaceful and tranquil place, and I think someone had a better plan in place today for the weather to have us all enjoy our time here today. But I'm very honored to be here. I was definitely blessed by Deb's phone call when she asked if I would share Amanda's story. And I get the opportunity to do that quite frequently with being a volunteer at the Iowa Donor Network. And who wouldn't want to talk about their favorite thing in the world, right? Your children. And so I get to share it with all of you today. Little did all of you know, I noticed not very many people sat in the front row because they're probably afraid I'm going to cry, which I will. So just be prepared for that. But every time I talk about Amanda, I always tell people you're part of my therapy session. Every single time. So thank you for not charging me for the therapy session today, but I'm glad to have all of you here today. Amanda was born on June 29th, 1995. That's when I look back on my life and say that's when I got the biggest promotion I've ever had my entire life. Amanda and her dad and I never thought that we were going to be able to have kids, and we were moving along with our life, and then I was ignoring every single thing my body was telling me, and finally I went to the doctor and he said, "You're pregnant." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. You need to run that test again." He's like, "I knew you were going to tell me that, and I already did. And you are pregnant." Not only was I not pregnant, I was past my first trimester. I was into my second trimester already. Amanda was born 3 weeks early via an emergency C-section. The cord was wrapped around her neck. So I went on my lunch hour one day, and I was a mom by the end of the day on June 29th. I remember everything that day of when Amanda was born. She was definitely a miracle and a blessing from so many different avenues. Amanda graduated from Norwalk High School in May of 2013, and she wanted to pursue her dream of being a pharmacist. And I'm not sure exactly where she got that aptitude from. I was not a science person growing up. I was more of the social sciences and the math, but she clearly had a talent for that. I think she got it from my sister, who's a nurse practitioner, and her daughter takes after me in the social sciences, so we always switch. I think it's because they were both only children and they were raised by really strong, independent moms, and she did very well. And so she enrolled in Drake University to become a pharmacist. Her goal was to be helping at the VA hospital, and she wanted to help our veterans serving our country in the area of mental health. She suffered from anxiety, and she knew the trials of having someone there and being able to support you from that perspective, and that's really what she wanted to do. Not only did she think she wanted to do a 6-year program at Drake University, she also decided then in 2016 that she wanted to get her master's in business administration. That meant 3 straight years of school through the summer to get her dual degree. 3 straight years, and it was a lot. She wanted to move pills around as part of her job. She could always own a pharmacy, and she could let everyone else go do the work, and she could retire early. That was her big plan. Her other plan with getting her pharmacy degree, she was going to live in a very inexpensive apartment, but she was going to drive a really nice BMW. That was her goal when she got out of school. She was truly a girly girl. She loved Coach purses and Michael Kors purses. That was my fault. Little did I know that was going to cost me a lot of money throughout the years. She loved to do her hair. She loved to do her makeup. She loved manicures. She loves pedicures, and she loved clothes. She was fiercely loyal to a small group of friends. She understood the investment of filling up your lives with those that can support and love you no matter what. She liked to invest in those close relationships. Amanda had a wonderful relationship with her Grammy and Gramps, often telling everyone and her cousins that she was their favorite. And she had a very special bond with her cousin Delaney. Amanda was in her last year of her program, and she was due to graduate in May of 2019, and she was pursuing the residency in Des Moines. Her last year of pharmacy school, you go on what they call rotations, and you work in different modalities. And on October 11th of 2018, my entire universe shifted. I found myself walking through the most painful and lasting event that a mom could ever experience. Amanda was on her way to New Era Pharmacy and State Center, and she was broadsided by another car, and she was killed instantly. I didn't want her driving that far. It was an hour drive each way from her home in West Des Moines. But again, she was smarter than I was, and she said, "Mom, I picked this for a reason. My supervisor is in State Center. He's the president of the Iowa Board of Pharmacy. And if I do really good, I could get a very good recommendation from him." And that's why she chose that particular place to go. And I couldn't argue with her, right? So approximately 9:02 a.m., she was struck by another car. And we'll never know exactly the truth of what happened that day. And it continues to torture me every day, knowing what happened. But what I learned after that day has really helped me continue to move through and to continue to honor her. And being here today is just a small example of that. Amanda had so much hope and excitement for this adulting thing that she said over the years. And she was really excited to move on with her life. What I did not know or didn't even think to consider that day when we got home, the Iowa State Patrol had her wallet, had her ID, and I didn't even think I would have probably checked it. But I got a call from the Iowa Donor Network, and they were asking, or more so informing me, that Amanda had chosen to be an eye, organ, and tissue donor. What I didn't know is that you can give so many gifts after someone passes away suddenly like Amanda did. I was just flabbergasted at the gifts that she could give to other people. We never talked about donation specifically, Amanda and I did not, but when I went back and I reflected on who Amanda was and what she wanted to do in her profession, it made a lot of sense to me that she wanted to help people. The average donor helps 75 people. Amanda helped 251 through her donations. She's across the United States, and she's also in Switzerland, the United Kingdom, and Malaysia. She has a heart valve that's in Florida, and we used to spend a lot of time in Florida with a friend of mine 2 or 3 times a year. She wanted to maybe have a profession there eventually down the road, so she's in Florida all the time. I wanted to take a moment and read to you one of the letters that I got from one of Amanda's cornea recipients about 6 weeks after she passed away. I have not gotten the chance to share this with a lot of people, but I feel very honored that I get to share this with all of you today. Please accept my condolences for the loss of your loved one, and thanks for your commitment to the donor program. It has restored my quality of life. I'm a 70-year-old retired person, and over the last 6 months have had to cut back on activities, friends, family, and business associates' time. My surgery has started to change this. About a month after the operation, I was driving again, and will get to spend the holidays with my daughter in Iowa City. I've had eye problems since the age of 30. Earlier surgeries for glaucoma and cataracts apparently worn my corneas out. With your donation, this has been fixed. The doctor is very pleased so far. It took me a while to respond back to the recipient, and I wanted to be very thoughtful about what I said, and I wanted to tell them a lot about Amanda, because I think it's important. I'm so glad to hear what you said about the importance of this. So I'm going to share portions of what I responded back to the recipient. I talked about Amanda was my only child. She was absent a large family of siblings. She loved spending time with her friends, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. She had a love for animals. She had an orange tabby cat named Cheddar, named after one of her favorite foods, cheddar cheese. Her ultimate pride and joy was her chocolate Labradors. She always called him her little nugget. Well, this little nugget is 93 pounds and tries to be a lap dog, but she loved that dog like no other. She was a vibrant, caring, funny, and sassy 23-year-old pharmacy student. As I've tried to understand the tragic loss of my only child, I find moments of peace knowing the blessings she left for others by being a donor. So as you look at the world every day, please remember the beautiful, blue-eyed girl who cared about others her entire life and after. Amanda loved fresh flowers, so see the beauty every day and take the time to stop and smell the roses. That's what I sent to her recipient. I was not a donor until I took the opportunity to honor Amanda, and I checked the box. My husband checked the box too. Every time that I speak at one of these events, I always have someone reach out to me and say, I'm now a donor. That's why I do this. That's why it's important. It's always very raw for me, but I look at the greater good of what me telling my story is for, because it's not about me. It's about helping other people. I encourage all of you to talk to your family and your friends and share anything that you can about your loved ones. Share the opportunity of being a donor, because it really has helped me heal. I will never be the same, but I have a different purpose. And that purpose is to be here and to tell all of you how appreciative I am of the gifts that your family members also gave as well. And so appreciative of those that have received the gifts that they have now. So again, thank you to the Iowa Alliance Eye Bank by allowing me to be here today and telling my story. And just remember, as I can smell the beautiful lilacs up here, it's the perfect place to be. It's not always about us, it's about those that are around us. So thank you for allowing me to talk today. Appreciate it.
Go off script for just a quick second here before I introduce myself. I was checking out the live feed for the people who couldn't join us in person today, and somebody was making a comment about how they can hear the birds right now, and especially the cardinals, and that they feel that our loved ones are here right now. So just wanted to share that. I think that was an appropriate comment. I'm Adam Stockman. I'm the Director of Operations at Iowa Alliance Eye Bank, and I have the privilege of overseeing all the clinical and regulatory staff and activities at the Eye Bank. These teams work tirelessly to maximize the potential of every donation and ensure the safety of the recipients of these life-changing gifts. And I'm honored to acknowledge the following donors. Please, as before, feel free to rise and remain standing as you hear your loved one's name read. David B. Hackman, Matthew Halliday, Randy S. Hankins, Jim Hanshaw, Scott Geary, Michael P. Higgins, Danette Hofer, Connie Inman, Carol A. Johnson, Michael Stephen Johnson, Tom Jorgensen, Robert Orrin Kelly, Mark Kendall, Jagger Marcus King, David A. Cordick, Donald M. Cowden, Mark R. Cruzy, Sonia Lawrenson, Patrick Loudon, Marilyn Mahoney, Theodore McGinnis, Larry Meyer, Craig B. Myers, Dennis Barclay Midgordon, Henry Myers, Raymond R.J. Nelson, Angela Nedelicki, Jean Noser.
Tiffany Kreider Jensen and her sister Kenya Jensen have been creating and performing music together since they were children and are providing our special vocal performance today. Tiffany's a processing services technician for Iowa Alliance Eye Bank, and 3 years ago, her daughter received a life-saving liver transplant, and she's now a happy, healthy 14-year-old. Their families eternally grateful for this incredible gift of life. The Iowa Lions Donor Memorial and Healing Garden commemorates the courage and selflessness of Iowa's eye, organ, and tissue donors and their families. The Donor Memorial's theme of hope, renewal, and transformation pays tribute to the tens of thousands of donors through the years who've transformed countless lives through their final gifts of sight, life, and mobility to waiting and grateful recipients in need. We're grateful to the family who purchased the commemorative paver that we dedicate today. These inscribed pavers honor loved ones who are gone but will never be forgotten. I'm privileged to share the following tribute written by Jerry Inman, husband of Connie Inman from Mechanicsville, Iowa. Would the family of Connie Inman please stand and be recognized? Connie Inman was a very caring person, always concerned with helping others. Her true love was for children, all children, and many have commented on the smile that a child would bring to her face. That radiant smile was captured in so many photos of Connie with her own children, Amy and Joe, and her 5 grandchildren, Alex, Casey, Megan, Emily, and Rachel. But her love for and commitment to children went far beyond her immediate family. As a first grade teacher for 32 years, Connie had a positive influence on the early lives of 600 children. Serving on the Stanwood Public Library Board, she touched additional lives by participating in countless story hours and summer reading programs. Coincidentally, Connie's retirement from teaching in 2000 coincided with the start of the Iowa Lions Kids Sight Vision Screening Program for children across Iowa. As an active member of the Stanwood Lions Club, Connie was also a volunteer with Kids Sight, helping to screen the vision of more than 12,000 children. When she became ill and no longer had the strength to attend and assist with on-site screenings, Connie continued to help by coordinating screening sessions and reviewing consent forms. Connie's passionate service to others continued after her death last October through her cornea and tissue donation. She was a beloved friend and supporter of Iowa Lions Eye Bank. And because of her generous gifts of sight and life, 2 individuals received a corneal transplant and numerous others benefited from her tissue donation. Although Connie is no longer with us physically, her spirit lives on in many ways and many places, and one such place is here in the Iowa Lions Donor Memorial and Healing Garden. Prior to last fall, Connie was here with Jerry to attend every annual celebration of Hope and Renewal, beginning in 2005 when this garden was established. She is definitely in attendance today in spirit as we dedicate her commemorative paper. Today we honor the life of Connie Inman, her legacy, her example, and her memory through the dedication of this commemorative paper. The chosen inscription reads, "In memory of PDG Connie Inman, strolling over heaven on a glad day, January 3rd, 1945 through October 17th, 2021.
Good afternoon. My name is Allie Bradford. I am one of the distribution coordinators at Iowa Lions Eye Bank. My team is given the honor every day of planning and coordinating the placement of corneal tissue donations with recipients across the nation. It is our hope and goal that every donation is given the highest opportunity for placement. Whether that is for transplant surgeries or for research efforts, we work to ensure that your loved one's altruistic final gift is found at home. When you hear your loved one's name, you are welcome to stand. It is with reverence and gratitude that I am honored to share these following names. Travis Parsons, Tim Paul, Andrew Reilly Pavlovek, Lynn Marie Keeler, Stephen E. Planty, Carl Christopher Powers, Gloria J. Preston, Matthew Donald Pruin, Stephanie Ratliff, Rick Reed, Gary L. Reese, Connie Richards, James Richards, Cordy Rollison Jr., J. Mikkel Bernice, Russell Ruop, Paul and Jerry Ryan, John E. Sampson, Charles Savago, Marvin Scholes, Frank J. Sharon, Charles Strain, Terrence Ted Arthur Stoll, Michael Swift, Kyle Vosberg, Jenny Wingsness, Russell Grant Welch, Dolores Gwent, Michael Lee White, Amanda Lynn Wilkin. Cammie Williams. Michael M. Wood. Terry Zabakursky. Thank you.
To conclude our celebration of hope and renewal, I'd like to share these moving words written by Sylvan Kamens and Rabbi Jack Reiner entitled, We Remember Them. I will warn you right now, I have yet to get through this without choking up. At the rising sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of the autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. At this time, I ask you to please reflect on the names of the altruistic donors acknowledged during today's ceremony. Their names were provided by the families invited here today, so that we may honor their loved one's final gift of sight, life, and healing, as well as answers through research by way of donation at the end of their life's journey. These acknowledgments also pay tribute to the donors' families, who had the strength and courage to make or support the decision to donate at a very difficult time in their lives. We ask for a few moments of silence as we reflect and remember. Thank you. Before we close, we offer our sincere thanks to all of today's speakers and participants for sharing their times, talents, and testimonials with everyone in attendance. And a reminder to our guests that we have refreshments available at the tables here at the side of the garden. Thank you so much for joining us today.